You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael in Arizona with my good friends.
Jay from the hills of Texas.
And Shannon G and Mesa AZ.
We would like to once again welcome you to the Park Flyer Podcast. If you have not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go on there and do so. And if you haven't joined our Facebook listeners group, you can do that as well. We always appreciate your patronage, and it's been an exciting week for some of us. We're just going to kind of recap our last weekend. Hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving. So I want to wish everybody did good, and they're all in their turkey comas. And then
I'm amazed I'm awake right now.
Yeah, there you go. And then and so I figured we had the Jet Rally last weekend, and so or I guess 2 weekends ago. Yeah,
yes,
and then and we can just kind of go over what happened there. But it was a 3-day event.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
Can I say one thing first? To quote Tolstoy, it was the best of times.
It was the worst.
It was the worst.
That is true.
We'll get to that later.
It was the best of times.
It
was the worst.
Little setup.
That is good. Yes, that is actually very, very, very true. 35th annual Jet Rally. Everybody got a bag that had some really cool stuff in it. So I think maybe in the last podcast we mentioned that there were some 3D printed turbine engines in there, which were very, very funny. Actually, mine's sitting on, I think mine's on the other side of the room. I should have brought it over, but they're very, very cool. And he did a good job. It looks just like a little turbine, and everybody kind of got a different one, kind of different manufacturer, but he did a really, really good job. We had a lot of stuff.
When I tried to fire mine up, it melted.
He did give us a warning. He did give us a warning that there were some heat restrictions. So, but it was pretty fun. They were big enough to fit in your hands, so it wasn't like a little tiny thing. It was probably about 5 inches wide and about 3 inches circumference. So
yeah, no, they're full size. I mean, they're for like fitting.
They were
in,
like
a
P80, like a P80.
Yeah.
So, but it was funny, and everybody kind of enjoyed it. I have to give a shout out to Hyperion. They had a bunch of stuff in the bags from those guys. Everything from extensions to battery leads to all different types of stuff. So he did a good job. Every bag was full of tchotchke stuff and just freebie giveaways. So the registration went well. There was quite a few pilots there. See Shannon, we went. What was that? Friday. We showed up Friday. So were you there on Thursday?
I was there on Thursday too.
All right. So give us a recap on Thursday. What did you guys do on Thursday? Anything spectacular happened on Thursday?
Thursday was just kind of Thursday actually was kind of surprisingly busy. I mean, there was a lot of the out of towners that had already come and set up their RVs, and it was just nonstop. I mean, there were planes in the air. The weather was beautiful on that day, and just everyone getting kind of caught up and things set up. I was still helping to kind of set up with the raffle because I was the assistant CD. And if you didn't know that, but I was doing all that stuff and getting everything working. We had power, we had trouble with the power again. Someone had flipped on some of the breakers that they weren't supposed to. I don't know who did that because I mean I had that thing set up just right, and all of a sudden it starts popping things left and right. So other than that, it was great weather. Got some flights in, and just had everything ready to really get started for the big, Friday, Saturday, and even Sunday.
Oh, that's true. I forgot
Sunday
about that. I was already working by then.
Yeah.
Well, I actually came home. Thursday, Wednesday. Yeah, it was either Wednesday or Thursday night. But I was trying to. It must have been Thursday. I came home Thursday and started trying to pack, and it was getting dark outside. So I was like throwing everything in my trailer and trying to get everything ready. And Barry, of course, was going with us, so he was on his end of the town, and he was telling me to get everything, and so we were trying to load it all up. So I got up early, 5 o'clock the next on that Friday morning, jumped in the truck, grabbed breakfast, something to drink on the way out, and was headed out. And so I was already on the freeway. Barry and I called each other, and he's like, "Okay, you got everything?" I said, "Yeah, I've got." Because you got the wings. I said, "Yeah, radio, yes." You got, all of your, turbine stuff. I was like, "Yeah, oil, gas, yep, 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 got it all, got it all, got it all." And showed up at the field around 7:30 or so. Met up with Shannon. Opened my trailer. First thing I noticed was the wings to the L-39 are no longer in the trailer. They're actually sitting. Well, now they're on my table, but they were sitting over by the door, along with a couple other items that I should have brought. So that was
Wah,
kind of
wah.
a disheartening. I know, right? But the good news is I had my
Mm.
Sparrow. I'd flown it at Best in the West and had everything in the trailer for that, and so we were pretty excited. And I unloaded it, got it all together, and we needed some work done on the turbine. Needed a new update, but I knew that I could fly it the way it was because I flew it at the Jet Rally, and so we waited till Barry got there. He put his stuff together, and then it was a beautiful day on Friday. I mean, it was
Oh, Friday was
awesome.
great.
I
Yeah.
mean, everybody was flying. There was no real long line. Everybody was doing pretty well. Like they'd watch everyone, and then you'd kind of walk up, and you may have to wait for 5 minutes until somebody landed. But then we had about four pilots. The pilot meeting went really well. Everybody was real supportive,
It
and
didn't break out in
yeah,
fist
and
fights.
no,
Oh,
none of that really. So, but it was great. We had a different coffee vendor though. It was someone else, I think. Sisu.
that's
Oh,
why.
was it?
No, that was the same one.
Oh,
She
she
just she
rebranded. Oh, okay.
rebranded. Yeah, she
Gotcha, gotcha.
rebranded.
So I think it
Yeah.
was Sisu
I,
Coffee.
I I think I told you the. I don't know if I told. Yeah, I don't know if I told you this. There's a story, but I
Oh,
can't tell it
okay.
on air as to why they
Okay.
rebranded.
Well,
Now that's
anyway,
what a tease.
she was out there. We
No,
right, I
Steve.
know, right. But the coffee vendor was out, and then we had a hot dog vendor. They were new, yeah, and they were out
They were
there.
new. They were new.
So they
Yeah.
kind of showed up, and then we started flying. I mean, we had a really good day. Barry flew a couple times. I flew once or twice, and then everybody got some really good flights. There was some really
Yeah. Well, we had a jet gaggle.
yep,
We had an EDF
EDF
gaggle.
gaggle. Oh,
Remember?
that's right, we did.
Yeah.
It was so you have what is that? An AL 30.
The the AL-37, but it done up
Right.
as the
So
P-8
it's done up
Poseidon.
as the Poseidon. And so he
Yep.
starts going out. He says to me, "Hey, would you spot?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So I'm walking out with him, and about that time, there's another guy down this. I can't remember his name, but he's down the a couple of spots, and he's got a B-2 bomber. So he comes walking up and he goes, "Hey, do you mind if I join you guys?" And we're like, "Oh, hey, that'd be great, B2 bomber." And then I've got my A10 there, so I'm like, "Oh, well, shoot, I should fly my A10." So I went and fired that up and brought it over. So now we've got three EDFs. We've got the Poseidon and the A10, and so we all decided, the Poseidon's going to fly around in the middle, and then the B2 will be up high, and then I'll just fly in the weeds, right? And it worked out great. I was really happy with the way it worked out, and it was a
That's fun.
really fun time.
Did anybody get a
Shannon did a
picture of
great
that
job.
so I can do an insert picture here type of thing?
They did. I don't know who was taking that pictures.
Maybe. Yeah.
Somebody was taking photos.
Um. Well, actually, there's a guy named Roger that I'm. Actually, I had a conversation with him this morning on text. He's gonna be getting them to me as soon as he can. He's like sorting
Oh,
through all
good.
the photos. He's shot like
Jeez.
1,000, and he's narrowed it down to like
Wow.
100. So and he said a lot of it was just
Yeah, that's
junk.
happened
But
sometimes. Barry's the same
he
way.
said he
He'll
was
take
solid.
4,000
Yeah.
photos and only use 80. That's just the way it is when you're working
Yeah.
digital. But
Yeah.
it was very cool. We did try to get close enough where we could get all three of us in the same shot. But being high, medium, and low, just kind of one of those where I had to kind of move up and everybody.
We might
Yeah,
have.
there
I think there was
was.
one good
Yeah,
shot we
I
got
think.
together, if I remember, towards the end.
But it worked good. And then somebody challenged us to all land together or something. I think. And it.
I was not on
Yeah, and
pass.
so I was like, yeah, I could do that, but I think we just landed one after another, so we didn't really land in formation.
Yeah.
But they were kind of prodding us on, and it was towards the end of the day. It was pretty fun. But other than that, it was a great time. Let's see, was there any really spectacular aircraft other than the Super Bandit that Patrick was flying? That thing is just a rocket ship.
Yeah. Well, George, his BVM
Yeah,
collection, he flies that
that's
F-16
true.
pretty
The
pretty
F-16 flew
amazing.
really, really well.
Yeah, and he's just rock solid on the sticks. The guy that has all the free wings that are converted to turbines, that guy cracks me up. He had he
Yep.
had the Typhoon, he had the F twenty
Actually, that
two.
was
That
first. That
one,
was
I'm like,
somebody else's, I think.
that's right.
Yeah, that was a different
Oh,
guy.
was it? Okay, maybe there's a couple guys. Okay, there's a couple guys that have those. So it's cool, because this jet rally we have some. Currently, we had some restrictions on aircraft size, but if you have a turbine,
Right.
anything can fly. So you can have a mighty might airplane, but if you got a turbine in it, it'll fly. We don't care.
Well, they were pretty cool. These little
Go
free
figure.
wing airplanes were kind of cruising around. Both of them looked really well. The guy that had the I can't remember his name either, but the guy that had the F-22 was just ripping through the air. That thing, he was doing these tight, real
Yeah,
tight circles where or loops where he would just turn inside himself and then just pull it up into this little falling leaf and then punch out with that turbine was just doing crazy
yeah.
things with it. It
He
was amazing.
was. You'd swear he
Yes,
had
you
thrust
would. Yeah,
vectoring. I mean,
you
that's
really
how he
thought
was
you did.
flying. But it was he was
It
dialed
was.
in
He
though.
did a good job. The F-16 looked good. Barry flew his BDX. The Horizon guys were there. They did
Hmm.
a little show that looked pretty good too. They were flying around with their BDX.
Yeah,
There was a bunch of them that had the
and the
EMB, the
MB
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 339s. That's right.
339.
Yeah, and those all look good too.
Yeah,
About the only mishap we had on Friday was the guy that kind of landed and then kind of tracked over and hit the fence. That was a
yeah. That was
so
Oli.
he
Yeah,
yeah, that's right. And
His
but that
steering
was
went
really
or
the only
something?
thing. I don't know. Doesn't I don't think his steering went. I think he just
he came.
came
Well,
in
he
that way, right?
he came in hot and he came in hot and just kind of he just didn't have the control once he
You
kind
know,
of
when
got on
you're
the
if you're
ground.
going too fast and you really jam on the front wheel, it makes that turn. It doesn't really grip. It just spins,
Oh,
and I
yeah,
think that's what
skids.
happened.
Yeah,
Is he
Skids a
went to
little.
turn and it started skidding, and then because the wheel was turned and skid, it
yeah,
just caused it to kind of just slide right into the fence. It did hit the fence pretty hard though. It
yeah,
it did some major damage to his wing, but the rest of the airplane was
yeah.
recoverable. It just kind of wingtip ripped off and it kind of dented the or it, kind of damaged the front. And those are balsa wood.
It well, yeah, because Matt Ventura
Mhm.
offered to fix it for him, and then when he went through in, he said it well, he was like he said the wood was just split all the way through the wing, so it was like yeah, it was terminal for that wing.
But I
So
think
bye bye.
that particular kit you can get another wing, so he should be
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah, he
they
should
have
be able to get back
spares.
in
They're not cheap, but they
there.
have
No, I hear you.
spares.
Keyword.
Well, I'm in the same boat. My Skywing or my Skymaster L39 had a wing issue, and I ordered a new set for them too. So it's yeah, you're right. It's not cheap, but sure makes it easy. You don't have to worry about fixing too much stuff. So yeah, Friday night everything went great. We had the pizza party,
Pizza party.
and that was really good. The pizza was great, and we had a lot of good conversations. Everybody kind of hung out. They had a night fly, I think, that night too, but I didn't stick around for that. I had something with my granddaughter.
I don't think anybody flew.
What's that? Did you fly?
I no
Oh,
one. I don't
okay.
think anybody did. We kind of like said, hey, you can fly it, but just no one was ready.
I don't know.
So and the wind kind of picked up a little bit
It
too.
did. The wind did kind of pick up. I think a lot of people were nervous because they were talking about the weather on Saturday was supposed to rain, until like noon or 1 or whatever. And I had to watch my granddaughter. My kid's birthday is this month, and they were going out to do something for his birthday, and so I was watching my granddaughter, and so I left my trailer and everything there, and I was like, I'll just come back and get it in the morning, and I'll go fly or do whatever. So, um, so yeah, we kind of wound up, that night, and everybody kind of left, and then the next morning, I showed up. Um, it was nice. There was no wind. A couple people went out and flew, and then Shannon and I were standing there talking, and I just got my airplane, out and put together, and had to go to the restroom. And as I was standing in the little porta potty, I could hear it started down rain, and I'm all like, "Oh no!" So I run back over there. Shannon's nice enough; he rolled my Sparrow underneath the Ramada there and kept it out of the rain. But he and I were both hanging on the wind picked up, so we're hanging on this little canopy cover that he had put up, and just kind of like a bunch of monkeys hanging on it. Got our
Oh,
chairs
and you
up,
can't
but
bolt it down, right? Because you got, your
well, he had it.
asphalt.
Yeah, he had it like bungeed to the table.
Oh,
Um,
gotcha.
Yeah, and I had weights on it too,
but
but
I don't know.
they're not enough for that
Oh, that
little
was the
for
other
that
thing
guest.
too, is that
So
I actually bought new chairs for the electric festival that looked just like Shannon's, because I like Shannon's and we were always using them, and so I found them. He told me where to get them, and so I found some and I bought them, and they were sitting next to the L-39 wings on Friday when I left the house. So I got there, both Barry and I forgot our chairs, so we're just kind of standing there looking at each other like, oh great, we get to stand the whole time. So we kept sneaking turns in Shannon's chairs until Shannon came back over and jumped back out. So Saturday I was smart. I brought them, but now it's raining, so they're getting wet. Um, but it was the wind pushed through. It was weird. The rain shower pushed through, and then it was like beautiful, and nobody was flying.
yeah, we had two rain showers
Yeah,
because there was kind of like another one popped through, but that one was like really
yeah,
short,
it
so it
wasn't
wasn't
So
wasn't
did
that
you
big a
bring your
deal.
wings from the
Yeah, it just I
from
think
the other
everyone was
day,
just kind
Mike?
of
I
You
didn't. No, because I had the Sparrow out there already and it was flying it, and I just thought, I don't really. I only had till noon because I had to work on Saturday night, and so I only had a short amount of time,
Oh,
and
okay.
so I told Shannon, I was like, I can't stay all day. I had to leave about 1 o'clock so I could get all the way back up to my house, get unpacked, and get ready for work and leave for work. But so I told Shannon, I was like, well, I'll be here early in the morning, and then I got to go by noon, so I'm only going to be here by noon.
Oh, so
And so
you were going out to work on Saturday. I thought you were, typically
Saturday
when you
night.
say usually when you say when you're leaving, when you're going to work, that means you're
Mhm.
leaving to be there for that day, which you had said Sunday. So I was like, "Oh, you're leaving Sunday because you got to work on Monday." You know what I mean? That's
Oh, no,
usually
no, no,
that
no,
that's
no.
usually how when you leave and you go, "Hey, I'm leave I have to leave by this time." It's because you got to,
Yeah.
you get the next day is when you have to be
Right,
somewhere.
right, right. No, no, no. That it's changed now. I'm
Oh,
actually based here in Phoenix. So now all
geez.
my flights originate out of Phoenix. So when I say I have to go to work, I literally have to like drive the airport and
Gotcha.
fly
Okay,
somewhere.
okay, my
So it's
brain's
not like
working
I'm
off the old,
positioning. Yeah, no,
you're
no, 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 no.
you're always, "Oh, I gotta go to work." So
no more
Yeah,
yeah,
no
yeah,
more
yeah,
I got
yeah.
a
deadheading.
More of
deadhead to
the getting
wherever
into
because
position.
I'm
Right.
my station locale's in New York City or, it's in New Jersey or it's,
Right.
whatever. I keep forgetting you're
Right.
stationed out of right out of Phoenix now.
Yeah. No, now I'm right here. So
Yeah.
yeah, it works out. But no, I flew. Um, Everybody kind of flew, that morning between the two rain showers. I got a really good flight in. There was another guy there. He was building a Sparrow, and so he was really interested in mine, and he kept coming over looking at it and asked me about it. And his is almost ready. He's right to the point where he's ready to kind of button it all up and go test fly it. And so he was really interested in watching mine fly. And so we flew probably 3 or 4 times, that weekend, and got it all, kind of dialed in and was having a good time with it. And Barry was supposed to come on Saturday, but it was raining at his house, and he said by the time he figured out it wasn't raining here, uh, and I that it was like 10 or 11 o'clock, and I told him, I was like, well, I'm only here for about another 2 hours, and he's like, well, it's going to take me that long to get down. But he opted not to come on Saturday, so it was just me and Shannon and all the guys we were hanging out with on Saturday. And so the Bad Boys RC guys were there, and they had been tweaking on my turbine to kind of get it all settled in, and they had up some voltage on the pumps and got it all where it was running, and I guess I didn't kind of mention this, but I had left when I left the Best in the West. I forgot to unplug my batteries. So when I got
Safety
to
tip
the
of the
jet
day,
rally,
kids.
well, no, I mean, it was no big deal, but when I got to the jet rally, I realized that both of my ECU batteries were dead.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I tried to recover them, and I did recover one, but one flight and it was done. So I had a new one here, and so on Friday night when I came back home, I scooped it up, picked it up, and then I drove back on Saturday. I had this brand new battery, so I charged my battery, which is why I didn't fly during right away. And so once it got charged. I put it all in the Sparrow, went and flew it. Everything worked great. You know, engine fired right up. Everybody came out. They're like, "Oh, it's perfect." So around noonish or so, we had the awards, and Shannon and I were sitting there, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna do the awards. We need all the pilots over here." And Shannon and I looked at each other, and I go, "Oh man, I just got to sit down. I feel comfortable in this nice big chair." I was like, "I don't want to get up. I never win an award." And Shannon goes, "Yeah, me neither." So then I was like, "Well, I guess we better get up." So we get up and we walk over there, and yeah, first award, Shannon Gallagher. So Shannon wins an
Crowd
award.
goes wild.
Yay!
So, uh, so tell them
Yeah.
what you won.
So there was 4 awards, and I won the best electric jet for my
Isn't
P8
that
Poseidon,
amazing?
and I was in
Yeah,
shock,
Yep, that sounds like an insert
and
picture here
so I'm on a
moment.
roll. So I actually,
right.
yeah. Well, I just got my trophy for Scale Masters finally. That because remember I said I got
Yeah,
shorted on
Uh-huh.
my
yeah.
trophy. They just gave me that this past
That's
week,
funny.
and then so I win this, and there was no other plane like
Mm,
that. Every other plane that was EDF was either the
mhm.
L-39 like on my that I fly, a couple of those, a couple of free wings, just but I'd spent so much time detailing that thing and painting it and everything that it paid off. So and I flew it a couple times and
Yeah, and it
and
looked great. It looks
so
great in
really
the
happy.
air.
Yeah,
You
that
did a
was
really good
and
job. Yeah, it does look very, very amazing. And so yeah, so we got a picture of him
yeah,
with his airplane and the award, and that was kind of cool. And they gave out a couple other ones
yeah.
that best turbine and best.
Yeah, so George Kraling won was the best scale flight, I think is
Mhm,
what he won,
mhm.
if I remember. And then who was the other person? Jerry McCurdy won for something, and then what was the other one? I don't remember, but
Yeah,
there's there's a I
yeah.
have it somewhere, but actually I'm supposed to post it on the Facebook page, and I have it written down somewhere, but I
Well,
turned all
there
my
you go.
stuff off, so
Yeah,
but
it'll come
it'll
up.
come to me. It'll just jump into
Yeah,
my head.
so
But it was
yeah,
cool. Yeah, I was
it was.
excited.
I was excited for him, because we
Very
just made
nice.
this little funny comment that we never win anything, and then they call his
Yeah, I'm like,
name, and
"Yeah,
he made it very clear that they did not choose. They were actually people that they said, "Hey, go out and figure this out," and so it was totally random. We don't know who was the ones, but it wasn't the staff or anything that picked it. They assigned some people to go do it. So
mm-mm." It wasn't. I
yeah,
didn't
no,
pick myself.
so
So
it was great. Um,
yeah,
but it was a fun time, and so we got the awards done, and the weather had cleared by then. Everybody was kind of doing real well. They were flying. Line was getting long, and I had just refueled my Sparrow. So I told Shannon, I said, "Man, I gotta go, but you know what? One more flight." Now,
Oh.
I will tell you, in my many years of living on this planet, the
Sorry.
when anything major happens to me in my life, it always follows, "Let me just go out one more time."
That's I was about to say, jinx, but
I mean, whether it's riding motorcycles, "Oh, let me just go one more time around the track, break my leg," right? Jay and I go, "Hey, let's just go one more flight." Boom, shot of the airplane.
yeah.
"Oh, hey, let me just jump on the boat one more time, or just go down the ski lift. Hey, I'm out skiing with my brother-in-law. I'm just gonna do one more run, tear up my knee." So it never fails. At that point, next time Shannon needs to say, "Hey, no, just call it even," right? But he didn't. He's like, "Oh yeah, okay."
We
So
need
not
content.
that I'm blaming on Shannon. Yeah, exactly. Uh,
yeah.
so believe it or not, it was quite surprising. I pushed my airplane out to the line. I was talking to one of the guys. We were talking about something or another, and I turned around and they're like, "Hey, are you ready?" And I was like, "Oh, it's my turn." Well, I went out there, and as I was firing it up, the 4 guys in the air all called landing, and they all came and landed. So it was literally just gonna be me, and I'm like, "Oh, that's fabulous." So Shannon said he would spot for me. So Shannon and I walked over there, and I got into the pilot box, and there's a young kid. His name's Patrick. He's about 19 years old. He's a fabulous flyer. He's got a high speed Super Bandit that's just phenomenal. He's had it for years, and he says to me, "Hey, do you mind if I fly with you?" Because he flies really super fast, and he does a lot of low level stuff, and he flies full throttle, and some guys, I'm gonna be honest, some guys are not comfortable having him, come screaming by at these high speeds. And when I was at Best in the West, we flew together. So I told him I don't care. I've got Shannon to watch for you, so I can get out of your way. It's not like I'm, a nude pilot. I've flown in a crowd and I've flown formation with guys, so I was comfortable with it and said, "Yeah, no problem." He said, "All right, fine." So he fires up behind me, and I took off, and of course, I ratchet around one time, and he takes off behind me, and now we're kind of chasing each other around, and he's way faster than mine, and I think he's got a 190 or something in his, and I've got a 140, so his turbine is way faster, and so I chased him around what, one or two times, you think, Shannon?
Yeah,
And,
at least that. Yeah.
anyway, I was having a hard time keeping up with him, and he uses a lot more area than I do because I was trying to stay within the, confines of the airspace, the airport, I'm sorry, the runway, and, he was kinda going a little further out. But I just kinda did a couple circuits and, did a vertical, half Cuban or roll. I did a dairy turn. I was coming downwind, ratcheting around. I was going one way, he was coming back the other, and so I did a dairy turn real quick to kind of catch, go the same direction he was, so we weren't opposing each other all the time. And that put me flying upwind from the left side of the runway to the right side of the runway. And uh, I'm I'm on the sticks. I'm straight and level, about 200 feet in the air, maybe. About, just kind of not really super high where you can't see it, but just coming down. Shannon says to me, "Hey, he's coming down the other direction, right? But he's low." And I said, "Okay, fine." And I could hear it coming, and we passed each other about midfield. Would you say, Shannon? I mean, just kind of, I was above him, and he
Yeah.
came zipping underneath me.
Hmm.
And I thought, okay, well, it's a great time. I'll turn, I'll do another dairy turn, kind of come back around. And as I got to the end of the runway, I started to pitch up to roll out. And yeah, at that point, what I was telling the sticks, what I was telling the airplane to do, the airplane was no longer doing.
Oh,
And
no.
I kind of yelled out, you know, "This isn't working." It's not quite what I said, but it's a family
Beep.
friendly show.
Beep, 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 beep,
Shannon's
beep.
like, "Whoa!" And then,
Blink.
yeah, and then it was the airplane went from wings level to inverted to the nose drop, and it did about what, one circle, you think, Shannon? Just did like a,
If
yeah,
that,
it
yeah, three
just like a
quarter. Yeah, it
three-quarter
wasn't
turn,
much.
and that was it. Now, I will tell you, when it hit the ground, there was a big, huge plume of white smoke, which will come to fruition a little bit later. I know we're kind of running short on time, but that's what Shannon and I both said. Okay, crap, something happened. So Shannon grabs the fire extinguishers, and I grab my radio, and they said, "Hey, look at your radio, see, how many holds and fades and everything." It was nothing. It was clean slate, which means the battery had disconnected from, it was no longer attached to the receiver. And so we ran down. We grabbed Rick Paquin was with us, and we ran down to the end of the runway, across the runway, got to the fence. It was literally at the end of the runway, just on the other side of the fence. I was
Oh,
not even
really?
past
Just
the
over it.
runway.
It
Yeah,
wasn't in that nice ravine
and
over there?
nope,
Oh,
nope. It was
look
sitting.
at
I
you.
mean, literally, if you walked across the runway and you got to the fence line, we were trying to figure out. We could almost reach. Well, not quite, but it was almost like you could reach over the fence and pick up the tail of it.
Mhm.
But we were trying to figure out how to hop the
No, it
fence.
was it was it was 20 feet
Was it?
away
Alright,
from the
but I mean, it
fence.
was close enough that it
Yeah,
wasn't, I mean, it
yeah.
wasn't, like, way out where Mike crashed his, right? It
No,
was,
no, we could see it. We could
yeah, you
easily
could see
see
it
it.
as soon as
Yeah,
you're walking across the runway, you could see the tail sticking up. But I will tell you
yeah.
that the tail section was visible, but the rest from about the back of the airplane forward was confetti. I mean, literally, there was nothing left of it.
It was
Yeah,
Wow.
so I walked back around. We kind of went through the little gate, and we walked back down there. And the fuel tank holds about 1.2 gallons of gas, and we'd only been up for what, 2 minutes. So
if
when that
that.
hit
Yeah.
the ground, there was nothing left of the fuel tank. The fuel tank basically exploded. There was just it blew the ends off of it. It blew the middle section out of it. I mean, so that big white plume was just vaporized fuel, and there was fuel probably in a 20-foot circle. And of course, everything was covered in diesel fuel, But there were parts. My batteries were, and remember, I told you earlier this was a brand new battery. I
Brand new
put it
battery,
in
yeah.
like I just charged it. So that thing it looks like an accordion. Everything could fit, inside your credit card container because it's just smashed. And it's just disheartening, right? Because
Wow, you
I
haven't
worked
had
on
a
this
crash like
thing.
that in, like, years, dude.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. That's what I'm saying. So we collected everything, put everything. I think the gear's salvageable, the servos are salvageable. The turbine was in one piece, and it had a little dent on the bottom part of the screen. So the turbine was fairly looked like in fairly decent condition. It was still attached to the tail section. It's just everything from the turbine forward was missing. I mean, literally just vaporized. And so we picked everything up, put it in 2 trash bags. I carried the tail, and we got all the way back. And so now we're kinda sitting there at the table and trying to, take things apart, and guys are coming down there, and everybody's kinda got their opinion about what happened, and so they're like, "What happened? What happened?" I was like, "I don't know." "What did you see?" Right? So the turbine guys, the Bad Boy RC guys came over, and they said, How'd your turbine fare?" And I was like, I don't know, you know? It's probably destroyed. How would I know?" And they said, "Well," so he picks it up and he spins it, and it spins perfectly. Not a rattle, not a scrape, not a nothing, not a grind. Didn't even sound
Mhm.
like dirt or anything got in the turbine. It spun just flawlessly. And he looked up at me and he said, "Your turbine wasn't turning when it hit the ground." And I
Oh.
go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, dude." He said, "I'm telling you, if that turbine would have been turning, two things would have happened. Number one, you would have had a big fireball because you vaporized all, over a gallon of gas, gallon of diesel fuel. You would have seen a big fireball because the heat coming out of that turbine would have just caught all of that.
Yeah, not just say
And
yeah, probably, yeah.
yeah, and well, we've seen it. We saw it at Best in the West, and
Right, right, right,
when it
right, right.
hits, you see this big, huge ball. And even though it had rained, the heat coming out of there because of this huge vapor, and I'm saying that this ball of vapor was probably what 6 or 7 foot tall. I mean, it was huge.
Oh yeah, I mean it was visible by anybody who was even
Right. I
close.
mean, from where we were standing, you could see this like a big mushroom of
Yeah,
white cloud.
because we were worried about a big fire because that's why
Hey,
I got that water backpack and
yeah,
ran out
but
there with it.
nothing. And so he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to take this
Mhm.
apart, but it seems like this thing was not turning when it hit, because if it's spinning at 60,000 revolutions a minute and you hit the ground and come to a stop, you are going to bend a blade or, you know, ding a, your bearings are going to shatter something. And if I got something in there, you would hear it grinding if there was dirt or
Right,
something,
right.
going into it. But if it's not turning at all and it hits the ground, it's like you dropped it." So he's like, "Yeah, I'll take it." He goes, "But I don't think there's anything wrong with this thing." So several other people came and said the same thing. They were like, "Hey man, why wasn't there a big fireball? Was your turbine on?"
What
And I
was
go, "I don't know."
you
The
got
guys were
cheap
saying they
gas.
weren't, that wasn't on. So once we kind of started figuring that out, you know, one of the guys came over and said, "Hey, I saw it from a whole different angle, and it looked like a servo, like you had a servo do something it shouldn't have. That's what caused the roll inverted." And he said, "I think it was a lockout on your radio."
But how would that stop your
So I
turbine? I mean, doesn't that mean that your ECU battery has to have got disconnected or failed
now
so that
remember
your
the
engine shot?
ECU. No, the ECU gets its signal from the receiver. The the battery powers it and powers the pump, but the ECU signal. Remember, I mean, when you start a turbine and you go forward on it, in
Mhm.
order to shut it off, you just go back to, your trim down, and it shuts everything off. So
Oh.
so if I lost total signal to the ECU, it's not telling the ECU where my throttle is. So it doesn't know how much fuel to put in, and it doesn't run the pump, right?
Well,
So
how does
even
it
though I had
it still
electricity
takes
to
a
it.
wind down for the motor to shut off and just wind down, doesn't it? It doesn't shut off immediately. It takes a while, and it sounds like you flew for a little while
Right.
before
And
things,
normally, if
or
you
was
have a
it an
flame out,
instantaneous, like 5 minute, like 5 seconds, and then you were in the ground?
was
I
it
mean,
5 se I don't know.
It
I
was
mean, do you remember? Was it was
no, it
it
was
was it
fairly
because it sounded
instantaneous.
like
I
it was
mean,
like a slow, the way you described the story. Once again, I wasn't there, but
Mhm.
the way you described it was, it sounded like, hey, something was going on. The plane was doing something it shouldn't. You voiced it, you know, and then it went in. So that might have taken,
because my
20 seconds or longer for that whole episode, or did this
no,
all happen like
you still had control up to this is pretty quick because I it's almost like a servo like overloaded and maybe shut everything off and then just stuck in that position. That's kind of what I'm not an expert,
Mhm.
obviously. I'm not with the NTSB, but
but I should be.
it just from all the crashes I've seen, especially with jet turbines and EDFs, it just seemed like something electronic, froze and shut everything off. And you could have had a servo that overloaded from you know, especially we were running high volt
Mhm.
servos, right?
Sure was.
Yeah, so because it was, I mean, it was sudden. It was, it was alarming.
Yeah, it was literally only honestly, the engine could I mean, I was doing full throttle coming that direction, so it wasn't
Yeah,
like, I was lollygagging around. I mean, I was fine with the Super Bandit, so, I mean,
Right,
I'm comfortable
right.
enough with that airplane that I was pushing it pretty hard, and then when it could have quit on the downwind, and then something overloaded when I moved it, or it could have shut down and just had enough that when if I moved it, it came back or something happened, I don't know. But the servos moved. I mean, everything in the tail seemed to have moved. Nothing seems to have been broke or locked. I haven't checked the ones for the ailerons, but I do have all of them. So I don't know, but it was quick. It happened, and luckily for me, it wasn't a total loss because the engine didn't catch fire and it burned everything because I've seen that happen. So I did recover, some servos and some electronics and the engine and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was a sad day for me. So
Wow, man,
going back to
you
Shannon's,
have not had. I mean,
mm-mm, it's been
I cannot
years.
remember a
Yeah.
plane that was like as new as this one is was
Hmm.
was
Yeah.
that you lost that soon. That is
Yeah.
pretty remarkable. You have not had
Well, loss
any.
of any airplane. I mean, I haven't lost an airplane in probably 10 years. I mean, I
Right.
may
Well,
have
and
gotten
like I said,
something
and a
stupid where
new
I
and
was
a
doing
new
something stupid.
airplane to boot. That
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
has not happened in a long, 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 long time.
Yeah, actually, I think I can actually. The last one that happened was my MXS. I was doing a flat inverted spin,
Hmm.
and I really ramped it up. Was like hauling it, and the ESC wires came loose, and that shut everything down too, and it pancaked into the ground. But it didn't tear the airplane up. It broke the motor mount or something off of it, and it's still sitting in the other room. I just haven't had a chance to fix it. But this one happened, and all of us were just standing there. It's the first time that a lot of times guys will kind of come up and talk to you and say, "Yeah, that was probably a dumb thumb."
Hmm.
I mean, you can kind of tell when people do stuff or that they. But this was literally from a straightened level to an inverted something, right?
Right.
and
Right.
and it wasn't like I was doing a knife edge flight and then roll it inverted and then hit the ground. I mean, that can be a
Right.
dumb thumb thing. But
Right.
I mean, I was upstairs, and everybody that saw it, their story was almost identical, right? I mean, did you hear anything? Nobody really came over and said, "Wow, you screwed the pooch on that." And
yeah.
I was really willing to take, like I physically said, I'm not ruling the fact that I did something to the sticks to make it do some. And almost every time I said that, the guy, whoever I was talking to would be like, yeah, that didn't happen. I guarantee you that didn't happen. You don't go from straight and level
Yeah,
to what happened there, you know.
yeah. It was so sudden and violent,
Yeah.
and you weren't dumb
Yeah.
thumbing it
So
like
they
that.
most
Yeah,
people are kind of like, yeah, we've been watching you fly. You weren't dumb thumbing nothing. But it just and the
yeah,
I think the other thing too, Shannon was standing there, but when the airplane went, I recognized it immediately. It wasn't like I was going through a maneuver and then like, "Oh, oh, 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 oh." It was like when it went, it was like, bam.
It was
It
too
was
late.
too
Yeah,
late.
there was no recovery.
And I was just
Yeah.
like, "I don't know what just happened," but it got, it left. It departed control
It
flight.
it
So,
is kinda ironic because you normally, people are shoving a receiver in your hand and going, or a
yes.
transmitter in your hand going, "It's all yours, Mike," and then, they're walking away.
It's right,
Yeah,
exactly.
and like, you're
That's
spying for
true.
them. 'Em, they're like, "Hey, Mike, take this." "What? What?
Yeah.
What? So,
Well, it was disheartening, and it clears the table for another project, I guess. But
oh,
I
jeez.
was pretty sad. It was pretty sad. So,
Hey, so remember that
Yeah.
conversation you had with your wife, just 2 weeks ago?
what's that?
Well, you had a little conversation with her and said, "Hey, honey, I think I'd like to buy this plane." And
Oh,
she
that's
goes,
true.
"Well, how much is it?" And you're
Yeah, the
like, "Oh,
F-15
Yeah.
that we were gonna buy 3 of. That's right. Now that you
Yeah.
mention it,
Oh,
I have
I
room
was.
now. I got
so
rid
now
of
you just
one.
need to go mope around
Yeah.
her."
Yeah.
That's
She's
true.
gonna,
I
and
should do that.
Charlie's gonna go, "What is wrong with you?" "Oh, nothing. I
Just go get that thing and just keep
I
stop
cannot
talking to
believe
me.
that plane, I just got it and got it flying perfect, and it went in like
That's
that.
true.
Oh,
Yeah. Well,
Christmas
it
is
was
coming.
sad.
Christmas is
I know,
coming.
right?
Oh, if I
It
could
is.
just,
Hmm.
this hole in my heart. Oh, it's perfect.
Oh, that's sad.
Better go see Santa at the
Yeah, no
mall.
doubt.
See those
So
laps.
so your buddy is willing to give your wife a call and go, "You know what, make him happy? I
Yes.
you gotta get him something for Christmas because it's pissing me off. I talked to this guy and he's just weeping on the phone. He's talking about his plane. Look, you
Uh,
need to get him this." So I can start
well,
planting the
yeah, you
seed
could
for
plant
you.
the seeds. Yeah, I know you're good at that. I don't know. We kind of run out of time. We got to go, but I will tell you that my heart is not as heavy because it wasn't. I really kind of internally feel like it really wasn't something that I could control. I don't know why that is, but Shannon had the same thing. When you had your kind of the something went loose. And for me, whenever I do something dumb and I put an airplane in, then that's me feeling like, yeah, crap, that's my fault. I
Yeah.
destroyed it. But in this particular one, it's one of those things that we'll never know, right? I mean, I nothing gave it away, and it just everybody that witnessed it, and there were a lot of people that witnessed it because I was only up there by myself and Patrick. So there were a lot of pilots that were standing in the pits watching the two of us fly. And I would have suspected that at some point in any of that conversation, someone would have said, "Hey, I saw what you did, and you probably caused it because of this or this." And nobody did. No, everybody was like, "Yeah, that was that." They were just dumbfounded. Even the Horizon guys, and they came over, and everybody was very apologetic. But they're like, "Yeah, man, we watched it and we don't know what happened." So everybody has an opinion, but most people think that was probably a lockout, and I'm not sure, but I'm not discounting that either. So who knows?
Oh, I don't know, man. You could have said something to the Horizon guys and said, "Gee whiz, maybe a brand
Hmm.
new, IX, 20 or something might
X20.
help me, or maybe the latest and greatest, that you were going to release this year might help me out with this
Well,
situation."
yeah, I don't know about that, but I will. What I will tell you is the Horizon and Spectrum are pretty good. I am gonna probably box up my receiver and send it back to them and see if they can find something. Um, you know, because it was a loss, and it would be different if I did something, but I think everybody's kind of in the same boat that something didn't go right, and there's been other instances where people have had a loss because of something in the boards or something. And this is the newest receiver, like the brand new one.
Mhm.
So I'm going to send it in, see what they say, if they can find anything, or something came loose, whatever the case may be. But we'll see.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, Jay heard that for the first time. He didn't know about it until just now, so
Didn't
this is
have a
kind of a shock
clue.
to him. So yeah, but I'll send. I think Shannon has some pictures, maybe, or if not, I'll send it to him. He can post it on our Facebook page. But for now, I think we're gonna kind of close
With
it
a
up.
sad
We've
with a
kind of
sad
gone a little
heart,
bit. Yeah.
with a sad heart, and if anybody feels like they want to contribute or try to help Mike with his slight problem, hey, it's almost Christmas. This poor guy, look at him. I want to have some joy on his face again.
Exactly. You never know. That's funny.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
Well, I think Shannon had to run. We lost him, but for now, I'm Michael in Arizona,
And I'm Jay from the hills of Texas.
and we're missing Shannon G from Mesa AZ, but he'll be back with us. For now, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you here in 2 weeks.
That's fine.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.